Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the final day of the week. This is a virtual hedge fund experience. I'm Brett Rosenthal. You and I are working together on a virtual hedge fund desk. You're the portfolio manager of your own assets. We're going to talk about big picture, risk monitor, stock market, macro view, perhaps some positions that we own in our portfolio, the difference between knowing when protecting capital is more important than trying to capture upside. That's going to be the focus of today's discussion, and I'm going to share with you something about what's unfolding in Israel that I think everybody should do their best to wake up to, both from a point of humanity, but also, obviously, this is an investing discussion, so it affects portfolios. As always, that means that if you're on this desk with me right now, you're the risk manager of your own assets. You're running your own portfolio. And take the information I'm sharing and all the other information you hear and be the smart money. Figure out your risk tolerance, your goal, and then execute the strategy. That part's up to you. It's been the end of a second week here since the atrocities that unfolded in Israel. Setting aside humanity for a moment and focusing on investing. We'll get to the bigger, most important issue of humanity in a second, but let's just cover the investing part of this conversation this morning. The risk monitor, which are the ARMR algorithms we use combined together to give us the direction of the market, turned red on the 15th of September. We're looking now at the equally weighted S&P index. Okay, this red arrow right here is the 15th. The first red arrow was the initial risk monitor red signal right there. Risk monitor went red here. Market tried to recover, and when that green signal failed, risk monitor went red again here. And I shared with you when that happened that when the risk monitor goes red that quickly, there is a high probability the market is going lower. Remember me telling you that? You remember that conversation? I said there will be times where the risk monitor goes green and immediately flips red. And the probability the market goes lower is in like the 90th percentile. We saw that happen 4 times in 2008. Green, immediately red, the next collapse. During bear markets, there will be attempted rallies that immediately fail. And what we do on our day trading desk can also be done in an investing portfolio. You can try to get long here and there, but if that long hits the stop, you flip short. You get defensive immediately, and you're able to capture upside as the market goes down. Certainly capture alpha by holding treasury bills and avoiding the collapse so that you'll be ready to put capital to work the next time the window opens. That's the value of the risk monitor. So this sell-off began on the 15th. I highlighted for you what we call in the technical analysis world the death cross, where the 50-day moving average, the black line, crosses below the green, which is the 200-day, and the market really starts to accelerate lower when that happens. There'll be short-term rallies. We captured some of that, right? Market popped up. We made some money. But we've been decidedly short and bearish during this whole period. I always say to you, the end of the week is more important than any one day. The last Wednesday, Thursday were god-awful. We don't know what Friday has in store for us. But if Friday continues to decline, then you just have a terrible weekly bar. Protecting capital. We're in a market where protecting capital is more important than trying to catch upside. You're going to see opportunities along the way. We went over yesterday in the morning meeting, and I said to you, hey, here's a Here's a good chart, right? Palo Alto looks like it's trying to break out. Big down day yesterday, right? CrowdStrike, nice reversal day to the downside yesterday. The list can go on, and I think we have to share the bellwether, which is Tesla. We talked about this yesterday, right? The earnings are an absolute mess. Revenue's a mess, and Elon Musk really gave absolutely zero indication of any type of growth story going forward. That story is dead, and it's a major part of all of the major indexes. That's a problem for the big market. The leaders are breaking down. We talked about it yesterday, right? We said, watch these leaders. How do they perform? The leaders are breaking down. The sell-off is picking up steam. And it's kind of like when the selling gets started, when the stampede starts, when those lemmings start running off of the cliff, it's very difficult to stop that. So the theme of today's discussion is protection of capital is more important than trying to capture upside. There may be an idea here or there that look good. I don't care. I'm not trying to capture that upside. It's protection of capital right now. There'll be more than enough opportunities to make money on the long side when this is all over. But it's not even close to over. Who is the chief lemming wearing the headdress? Who is that chief rodent that's jumping off the cliff? Take a look. That rodent, that chief lemming jumping off the cliff. Our U.S. Treasury bonds, the Treasury bonds, the debt market in the U.S. is imploding. Anybody not awake, I implore you, wake up to what's happening. This is the 7 to 10-year bond market. I mean, this is total collapse in the bond market. You don't see those type of sell-offs very often. You saw it last year, and it goes in a straight line until it finally bottoms. Straight line. Okay? And so here we are breaking down below the lows of last year, and the decline is accelerating. These things don't stop on a dime. And in fact, we had yesterday the following comments from our intrepid chairman of the Federal Reserve. And he says, why long rates are moving higher? Well, quote, it's not apparently expectations of higher inflation, and it's also not mainly about shorter term policy moves. What is this guy smoking? I mean, is he joking? Or does he not know what's going on in the bond market? Is he a bit confused now? So, how do we execute in our portfolio? We're protecting capital. We're focused on the ARMR carry trade, which means we get in there and capture long and short day trading opportunities on the indexes using ARMR algos. And we're just crushing it. We had an insane day yesterday. We made money long and short. And of course, we cleaned up on the short side. Just cleaned up. I don't carry any of that short overnight. I don't carry index shorts overnight. I don't carry puts on the indexes overnight. I want to come in every day with a clear head and just execute what we see, read and react using the ARMR algos to day trade. We've got the day trading playbook, and we're just stacking chips on top of our 5.5% Treasury bill yield. That's the carry trade, right? We've got our Treasury bills. We get interest every day. We're using brokerage firm capital to day trade. We don't pay margin interest on it, and we collect whatever gains we can and stack on top. And we're completely protected overnight. You know, in a bear market, there can be huge rallies in the morning. So I don't want to be short overnight. What I will hold overnight, oil, gold, silver. I'll hold oil, gold, and silver. I also have, as you know, I have a lottery ticket play in the put market here on high yield debt. I don't see high yield debt holding up the way it is with the US Treasury market imploding. I just can't see it. There's going to be a moment in time where there's a realignment of price. And it's going to be dramatically below the lows of last year. Dramatically below the lows of last year. Long bonds are already blowing through the lows of last year. And high yield debt is trading up here. Up here. We should be well below that price from last year. So I have a lottery ticket on the put market there. And I'm short the home builders. Okay. I'm going to be short the home builders. We've already talked about this yesterday ad nauseum, and the home builders made a new low yesterday. Okay. So those puts are really paying off. I'm willing to be long XOP. Okay. XLE energy. I've got calls on USO, which are starting to really pay off. Sprott physical gold, my biggest position in the gold market. I do have a physical silver position on, and I have a smaller position on the gold stocks. Those are the only assets that I'm willing to hold overnight. Okay? And that gets me to the next part of this conversation, and I hope you'll bear with me as I share some thoughts on the developments coming out of Israel. It's incredibly important, obviously, to an equity portfolio because I believe, look, there is just an unbelievable complacency. I know here in the US, and from friends I have abroad, I even feel it with friends living overseas. There's a complacency that conflicts happen in certain remote locations, and it's not going to happen here. Okay. And yet, I feel it's my job to share my opinion with you. Be the smart money, make your own decisions. But I'm telling you right now that the world is marching towards a much larger conflict. You could say that conflict has already started if you draw the lines between the dots of Ukraine and Israel and cui bono, who benefits. And when you look at that, you recognize the world is already involved in a world conflict. And yet people are still complacent. Please wake up to reality. Okay? Please wake up to reality. It's hard for me to discuss this with you. It's an emotional trying to write my captain's log this morning. There are unbelievable atrocities unfolding in Israel to the Israeli people. And yet there's this complacency. I lay the blame of complacency right at the feet of the woke movement. They've been working on you for years now. This apologist faction has let the proverbial fox in the hen house here in the United States of America. And I'm just shocked. I'm shocked to see members of our Congress, members in the House of Representatives, cheering and supporting terrorist acts of murder and torture and other things that I literally can't get myself to type or tell you. And these people cheer it. This is not an argument of religion. This is an argument of humanity versus the inhumane. How's it possible that the U.S. voter allowed these people to represent them in the hallowed halls of our Congress? How's it possible? I don't know. And my question to you, and I mean this sincerely. I'd love a comment if anybody could tell me. What's the legal definition of treason and sedition? Hasn't the rhetoric from these people in the House of Representatives hit that level? Through their social media tweets and their comments, going directly against the U.S. government stance and inciting violence against U.S. assets overseas, embassies and the like. Isn't that treason? What has to happen in this country before these people are held accountable? I'm going to go off into the weeds here now. Come with me. See if you can follow me on this. I now understand the woke ridiculousness of that argument they tried to push, where they try to blur the lines between what is a man and what is a woman. I get it now. For the longest time, it made no sense to me. Right? If you don't have a uterus and fallopian tubes, you're not a woman. That's pretty obvious to me. Okay? If you can't bear children, we all knew that. And yet they kept shoving this down our throat. Why? I get it now. I get it. If they can get you to question something so basic and obvious, well, then it becomes very easy for them to get you to question atrocities in Israel. Gosh, man, there are people that still don't think the Holocaust took place in Germany, right? So they've been shoving this swill down your throat on the most basic, obvious of things, right? And now we see why. Now horror is unleashed against Jews in Israel, and they push propaganda that would make Goebbels blush. Don't be a sucker. If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And now's the time to stand for Israel. Now's the time to stand for the humane versus the inhumane. Thank you all for listening. Look forward to working with all of you on the desk. 9:30, we'll get our day started. We crushed it yesterday. We'll go at it again today. Hope you all have a good trading session. If you can't meet me on the desk, please remember the time now is to protect capital. We'll have more than enough time in the future to capture upside. Everybody stay safe and be the smart money on your own.